Welcome to Securely Hers, your go-to podcast for cybersecurity tips, advice, and breaking news. I'm your host, Veronica Duff. Well, it's really my avatar hosting. Today, we're delving into a timely topic following this week's FBI announcement on smartphone spoofing. We'll discuss what it is, how it's done, and most importantly, how to protect your Android and iOS devices. So, let's begin with the basics. What exactly is spoofing? In the cybersecurity world, spoofing refers to the act of disguising communication from an unknown source as being from a known, trusted source. It can be applied to emails, phone calls, websites, and even IP addresses. In terms of smartphones, the most common form of spoofing is caller ID spoofing, where callers masquerade as someone else by faking the number that appears on your smartphone's caller ID. This might seem harmless at first, but it's often used in phishing attacks to trick you into revealing personal information or even conducting fraudulent transactions. So, how is spoofing done? Well, there are various methods, but the most common involves VoIP, or Voice over IP, which allows users to make calls over the internet. With certain software, users can set their caller ID to any number they want, legitimate or not. There are legitimate uses of caller ID spoofing, like when a doctor calls a patient from a personal phone and wants the call to display the office number. But unfortunately, as we've seen, it can also be used for malicious purposes. This brings us to the FBI's announcement. They've reported a significant increase in spoofing attacks targeting smartphones. These attacks are becoming more sophisticated, with attackers often pretending to be government agencies, banks, or other entities that could plausibly request sensitive information. So, how can you protect yourself? For Android users, there are a few steps you can take. Firstly, don't answer calls from unknown numbers. If it's important, they'll leave a message. Secondly, if you do answer and suspect it's a spoofed call, hang up immediately. Don't engage in conversation and certainly don't share any personal information. You can also use apps like Hiya or Truecaller to help identify and block potential spam calls. And remember, regularly update your phone's software to benefit from the latest security patches. And what about our friends using iOS? Well, good news, many of the same rules apply. Don't answer unknown calls and hang up if you suspect spoofing. iOS 13 and later versions have a feature called Silence Unknown Callers, which sends calls from unknown numbers straight to voicemail. You can also download apps such as RoboKiller to help identify and block spam calls. And as with Android, keep your device updated to the latest iOS version for optimal security. But the most important tip, regardless of your device? Never give out personal information over the phone unless you are absolutely sure of the caller's identity. If you're unsure, hang up and call the entity directly at a number you know is legitimate. Remember, your smartphone is a gateway to your personal information, so always treat it with care. Keep informed about the latest cybersecurity threats and take proactive steps to safeguard your devices. That's it for today's episode of Securely Hers. Stay tuned for more cybersecurity news and tips. Stay safe, stay secure. See you next week. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to Securely Hers, the podcast by women, for women, covering all things cybersecurity. Securely Hers is the flagship production of I'm Not Crazy Productions, LLC, a California corporation.
Thanks for joining us today. You can email us and obtain additional information about Securely Hers on our website. We'll be posting resource tips and other news items there. I'm notcrazyproductions.com. Securely Hers is produced as an audio and video podcast and an audio-only podcast.